Welcome to the Bitcoin Zodiac, the podcast that explores the intersection of finance and astrology, where we use a combination of spirituality and logic to help us connect the dots in the markets. Hosted by Corinne Florence and Claire Marinan, who both come from a diverse background, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in the realms of astrology, cryptocurrency, trading, philosophy, investment strategy, and of course, Bitcoin. In each episode, we explore the economics of the markets following the evolution of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through each moon cycle and astrological transit. Join us on this journey as we explore the intersection of these two worlds that are often thought to be at odds with one another, finance and astrology. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor, a day trader, or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Bitcoin and blockchain, the Bitcoin Zodiac is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and come and expand your consciousness with us as we explore the world of the financial markets through an astrological lens.
All right, here we are. Happy full moon in Pisces.
Wow, I can't believe we're at the end of August already.
I know. Can you believe that there's 3-4 months left until the end of the year?
Crazy. Like this year has just flown by. I feel like I say that every year, but like someone's speeding up the timelines, I feel.
It really, really is. Like it's so funny because I think there's like two ways of looking at this. One is like the perception side of things. And one time I heard this saying of like, time speeds up. Time slows down when you're doing the same thing over and over again. And no, hold on, rewind. When time is going fast, it's because you're doing the same thing over and over again. And if you want to slow down time, then you need to do more new things. And that's why when we're kids, it looks like or feels like we perceive time as slow, because we're always doing new things and we're always like in awe of everything. But as we get older, we get into routines. Everything's like boring, the same old thing. And so time then speeds up. But then there's the other side of it where literally, we hear certain professionals talk about the 5D realm and how literally they say that even the earth is starting to speed up and that things are spinning and like all the planets are orbiting faster. And I don't know, because I'm not an astronomer, but if anybody is, please let me know.
Yeah, I mean, at least perceptually, but it is like that. Like when you're a kid, the summer, 3 months of the summer felt like eternity, right? That 3 months felt like an eternity. And now it's like, wait, where did summer go? Like as an adult, it's like, hang on a second.
Literally, I know. But here we are. It is the full moon in Pisces, and not too long to go till the end of the year, and 2024 comes around. But we still are in year 2023, the year of transformation and preparation.
Yeah.
And we've seen some pretty cool things since the last new moon.
Because everyone was complaining that Bitcoin was being boring for so long, including us.
Right.
And,
true.
Yeah. So now Bitcoin's like, okay, well, my last hurrah in Leo season, I'm going to be dramatic. And,
classic.
So we have had a pullback. We get excited for pullbacks over here. Like we're into that. We get excited. It's time for accumulation. We love that. We also love a healthy correction. We want that kind of healthy correction in the market. And as we've said, people must be so bored hearing us say this on our podcast, but 2023 really is that year of accumulation. It's a really great time to learn, really, really understand Bitcoin, really understand the mechanics of Bitcoin and crypto, and also about global economics as well, the macro situation, and be really well versed in that. It's given us an opportunity to really learn deeply about that. And this full moon in Pisces, I mean, Pisces is a water sign, so it's, emotions. It's really associated with intuition, creativity, and spirituality. So, in terms of the markets, this can bring about heightened emotional sensitivity and but also a heightened connection to one's inner self and intuition. So it is a time to really listen to that, but also kind of balance that out and keep your emotions in check. Be aware that your emotions will be heightened, and keep your emotions in check. Also, in terms of financial astrology, Pisces energy can bring more emotional investing and trading, and maybe also a focus on the intangible value of investment. So again, we speak a lot about the fundamentals of Bitcoin on this podcast, and it is really a time to be looking at those more intangible sort of value judgments, and you're really having a look at your thesis for Bitcoin and seeing if those things are still true when you look at the fundamentals. When we have like a big pullback like we did, it wasn't massive. I expect a little bit more actually, but when we have those kind of times, it's a time that you can have a look at like, hey, my thesis isn't only based on price. There's more kind of intangible factors here, that thesis for Bitcoin. But also, when things are emotions are heightened, it can really lead to a lot of volatility in the markets. And so you just need to be aware of that and, stay calm and recognize and sort of manage your emotions.
Yeah, and I think that as well, paired with this continuous Venus, not just Venus in Leo, but Venus in retrograde
Yeah.
in Leo, is just kind of adds to that. It is, Pisces is a water sign. It is a lot of emotions. It's also very psychic.
Yeah.
But when it comes to then the financial side of things, we have the emotions, we have the maybe the clickbait in front of us that we fall for, and we're more likely to fall for it when we have these Pisces energies. But also the Venus in Leo is so much this energy of like overspending, and we've spoken about this in past episodes where us Leos, we just like to buy things, it makes us happy. And so it is really a time to like be careful. And when we actually look at what happened with this past new moon in Leo, I even saw online a lot of people talking about like, because now it's like really starting to like come out that the moon phases with Bitcoin, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, because new moon was the end of price going up and that's why it came down. Well, sure, that played a little bit of a factor in it, but it was really the Venus.
Yeah.
Venus was really that key thing that we were looking at for Bitcoin to drop and drop significantly. And I mean, I think if I remember correctly, it was like a 15-minute candle that I just looked at the chart and I was like, whoa, like, yeah, there it is. Our Venus inferior conjunction with the sun.
Yeah.
That was really what sparked it. And so that was really cool to see, as we do every time that we have the Venus inferior conjunction with the sun. There is, and I invite you guys to go and back test it and check it out. There is always quite a significant move around there. So Venus plays a really key role, and it will be really cool when we are finally out of the Venus in retrograde on the 4th of September. So when you guys are listening to this, it should be like in 5 days' time. Venus will finally be out of retrograde, and it will still stay in Leo until the start of October. And then speaking of retrograde, as we're actually here recording, we have the brand new day of Mercury going into retrograde.
Yeah.
We are officially in Mercury retrograde in Virgo. So I hope you guys aren't traveling like I am, because this was a bad decision, but I'm just going to embrace whatever comes at me.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the roller coaster of traveling in Mercury retrograde.
Right. I was like, babe, just get ready. We're traveling through Mercury retrograde. I don't know what's gonna happen. We just have to be super go with the flow because that's just what happens. I'm like preparing him.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And yeah, I mean, it just gives an example as well. Like a lot of people were expecting Bitcoin to break to the upside, actually, whereas our listeners, our loyal
Mm,
listeners, knew that this downside was coming. We spoke about it in our last episode. And you really called it with that inferior conjunction. And so that's why we get tied into it. We really look at the astrology and we really value what it's sort of telling us, because it does give us a heads up beyond technical analysis, certainly beyond fundamental analysis, and even beyond macro analysis, what the energies are happening, and
yeah.
how that could affect the market. So I hope that none of our listeners were caught up in that pullback, and instead we're in a position to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. It is the beautiful thing about astrology, that just extra thing that it really gives us those key dates, which I think is super useful. And, I'm interested to see because as we're recording this, guys, it is the 24th of August. And we had the big drop right around the new moon. Price did come back up a little bit, and I'm interested to see. I believe we probably will see it a little bit back closer to that 25K mark around this full moon, as you guys start to listen to this. But I don't think the drops are over yet, even though I do think we're about to come into quite a boring period during Virgo season.
Virgo season, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, Pisces as well is, like, as you say, it is quite psychic, it is very intuitive. So this is sort of a time to really turn inwards and to listen to that intuition, to lean into that intuition. And also, it's a really good time to have a look at your portfolio and your thesis for different projects that you may hold. And have a look on, are these aligning with your goals? What are you wanting to invest in, and how are you wanting to reorganize your portfolio? And we also have, like, Pisces is really a sign that also emphasizes the interconnectedness and unity. So there will be, like, expect a lot of attention to be on global economic conditions and international markets. Um, you know, a lot of talk about things that affect cross-border interconnectivity. And I mean, it's no coincidence that the BRICS Nations Summit is on at this time. It started a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
And also we have, just before the full moon, we have Jerome Powell speaking at Jackson Hole, providing an economic outlook. So it all ties into that. It all ties into that Pisces interconnectedness and unity, and sort of a focus on the global situation as well.
Yeah. And that's so aligned with the sun, with the sun moving into Virgo.
Yeah.
That's actually going through Bitcoin's second
Second,
house,
yeah.
which is all about money, trade, the economy, and interest rates.
Yeah.
And that's where the light is just being shown, where the sun, is just shining upon and really bringing out those themes that you just touched upon. So it's
Yeah.
very aligned with that too. And, with that Virgo energy, it's just very much like, for me, it's like law and order and like
Mm-hmm.
very like strictness and making sure that all our ducks are aligned. And um, that's just the energy that I'm really getting around this time. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's interesting at the same time, super boring for us cryptoers because we're like, when moon, but
Absolutely.
that's where we've got to just step back into the okay, everything's just in preparation stages right now. And you said something really interesting just now, which made me think about a conversation I literally just had today. You said about like, it's really great time for portfolio reassessing and reevaluation, maybe about like the projects that you're into. And a client of mine that I was talking to today, she just said something really interesting, which I loved. And she goes, when you look at crypto projects, you need to kind of look at it like, she said it's the perfect world in between stocks and businesses. And she goes, you have to look at crypto projects or like startups. They're babies. And
Yeah.
so when we're investing in them, you're really investing in an idea, into people, into a community. And it's kind of like, I loved the energy behind it because it was like, we don't even invest to make money. Like, sure, of course, that's why people trade and invest, etc. But she was like, but you're also doing it to support them and to support like their vision and what they're creating. And I thought that was so beautiful, because it brings about, your energy when you are investing that money. It's just the energy that you're doing it with and the intention, rather than just like, oh, I just want this to go to the moon and make money, but rather like, oh, there's people behind this and an idea, and I get to do it with love. I really loved that.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of going to be more of the theme moving forward, because what I think annoys me in the crypto realm is that there is a lot of crap in the crypto realm. There's a lot of things that are just pump and dump. There's a lot of scams and stuff like that. But what's sad is there actually are some really innovative ideas. And so we don't want those innovative ideas to get lost in the sea of pump and dump things. We do want to support, and we want to see these ideas be birthed into the world, and
Right.
yeah, it's interesting and it's exciting, I think. I mean, I personally haven't looked at any altcoin projects, certainly not
Yeah.
bought for, at least a year, more than a year even, I would say. I really am more focused mainly on Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum as well, because I just think that that's the time we're in the cycle. But I think what's interesting when people are analyzing crypto projects is that the reality is that most crypto projects are just a white paper and some
Yeah.
marketing. So really they're just an idea and some marketing. And so it's really is being able to align with those ideas that really, excite you, that you see real world use cases for them.
Yeah.
Instead of just being focused on like, is this going to go to the moon or not?
Yeah.
And
And
I think that's what's going to happen as regulation becomes a bit tighter. Like that's the positive thing I see
mhm.
about regulation is that, a lot of these pump and dumps and, scams basically, or just rubbish. I'm hoping that we're going to see a bit more of a clear out from those sorts of projects.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with like there's so much like, I'm trying to think of the right word, poo out here in the crypto space. And this whole year and this whole regulatory stuff that's coming out is really just to clean that up. And I think that then it's going to give the whole world of crypto such more of a beautiful name, because the reason why a lot of people talk bad about this space is because they've been hurt, they've been burnt, they got into something that seemed like it was going to be something legitimate and the next big thing, and it just wasn't. And you said about the white paper literally, if you go and understand what a white paper is, it really is a document that's just created for the investors to go and essentially sell to the investors why invest in us. That's what a white paper is. Now, even there, it's from the intention and the energy that comes from. You read the white paper of Bitcoin, and he sells it to me, or she or they or whoever it is sells it to me, because I'm like, oh my God, like you are bringing so many solutions to the world. And then you read another white paper, still a sales marketing document, if you want to call it that, but it's trying to sell it in, maybe I always think of like sleazy car salesman way, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just the terminology and the energy behind it. So yeah, it is I think it's an exciting time to clear out all the not so great things, and keep what's legitimate and what our world really needs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And even with the sun in Virgo, it really is like an emphasis on like practicality, attention to detail, and being very analytical. It's Virgo is really about precision and organization and a very methodical approach to tasks or to doing anything really. So it's more like it's a refining process. It's like problem solving, paying attention to the finer details. And so that is this point. I think that these pullbacks also, they're shakeouts. They're a time to clear things out. And so you want to really understand the underlying factors that contribute to this price movement, the macroeconomic trends, the technological advancements, and also like regulatory issues. So that all feeds into that, but it's paying attention to these finer details. And, it's easy for us to say this in 2023, but the hype of the bull run, which is coming, it's very easy to sort of throw those things out the window and be like, kind of, oh, well, I want to get into this. I want to get into this. And literally during the bull run, you can kind of like throw money at anything, and it generally will go up. But it's also being able to like have that system and a systematic approach to be able to capitalize on that, rather than staying in things too long, having too many projects that you need to be looking out for. So it's like really having a much more systematic approach to how you study projects, how you decide that you want to invest in projects, rather than, oh, my friend says this is going to pump, and jumping into something. It's like, no, I want to, now is the time to really develop a strategy of like, how am I going to choose to invest in things? Like what are the key factors that are going to be pointing towards me investing in something? And also, what is my strategy to get in and out? Like that's also really important. And but for Bitcoin, I think, as you said, money trade, interest rates, just before the full moon, and quite a way before the new moon, we'll have that Jackson Hole economic outlook from Jerome Powell, and that will give us an indication of what they're thinking around interest rates. I still think they have another hike or two, in them personally, but not everyone agrees with that. They think they will probably pause, but I don't think so. I think that they will continue to hike, and I can see sort of a time around eclipse season that for whatever reason they may then begin to pivot. And as we said on previous podcasts, it sounds great. Okay, incredible, interest rates dropping, more liquidity in the market, etc., more global liquidity, basically. But that actually isn't usually a good sign. Like that isn't a bullish sign really for the markets in general. That's usually a sign of a massive pullback, and then probably bullishness a little bit further down the track, because when they do eventually pivot, that actually is an indication to the markets that something's broken, and that it's like it's almost out, it's out of their control, and they need to do something quite drastic to stimulate the economy again. So usually that is a massive pullback for the markets, and followed by a V-shaped recovery. So we don't know if that's how it will play out this time. Of course not, but we're always looking back to see how things have responded previously. But I think we'll talk about that in more detail as we get closer to eclipse season. But at this point in time, I feel like Virgo, it's just going to be, we've had a bit of a pullback. I think we will continue to into this full moon. And, full moon, we usually find a local bottom. But I think Virgo, in Virgo season, there's nothing that's sort of telling me that there's going to be any impulsive recovery moves. So it's just going to be very slow and steady, consolidation, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, when I jump in and look at the astrology, as we were just saying, Mercury retrograde still continues through the moon as it starts to make its way to the full moon. So right before, it's actually also going to be square the natal Venus, which is all about manipulation with money. And so it's interesting because I wrote this a few days ago, and I actually wrote, it makes me feel like there may be a potential upwards move here, but it is a trap. We could actually see a fake out during the BRICS summit. So I would stay out. Of course, when you're leverage trading, just play it safe, because there's just a lot of volatility and big moves. But then really coming into the full moon in Pisces, which is at 9:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the 30th of August, we actually have the full moon happening in Bitcoin's 8th house, which is death, rebirth, and waste. And I'm feeling like not so much the death, but it's like transitioning to a rebirth, because it has a lot of astrology that talks about like it's starting to get healthy again. And I remember at the start of the year when I was going through Bitcoin's astrology, and we started having the first like really big moves up. I believe it was like the start of March. We just had this really quick move up, and everybody was excited and we're all back in the bull run. And I just remember looking at the astrology being like, this is unhealthy, this is not going to last, this is a temporary thing. And the energy instead around this full moon is actually starting to bring like healthiness around it. It's kind of like Bitcoin's going to start going through its healing, and that is like a type of rebirth. But it's not an impulsive boom, we're going up. Rather just starting to even look at who genuinely gets me. Like, I have like who appreciates the real you, Bitcoin, And so I feel like it's just going to be a really healthy period, which I do believe is just going to be a period of consolidation. I don't see Bitcoin really going anywhere, for now. There's also a lot of interesting stuff happening with Mars. It's going to be square the natal Pluto, as well as opposition the natal moon. And this causes some power struggles. There might be some aggression and chaos in the home. And that just makes me think that there's still just going to be a lot of debates and talks around, what are they going to do with Bitcoin? How is it going to get integrated into the world? Which countries are going to accept it? Which ones want to reject it? Or even this talk around or even I just recently saw a man from China who has been imprisoned for life for Bitcoin mining. Now, I'm going to be transparent. I just read the headline. I didn't go into details and, then what he was doing with the Bitcoin or what, but, I just see these sorts of things coming out, where we're just really trying to establish in the world what's allowed, what's not allowed, how do we accept Bitcoin, and just power struggles is really the right word for that.
Well, I think also even in terms of the full moon in Pisces in the 8th house, in terms of, the 8th house being waste, death, rebirth, and resources. I mean, as I was saying, there are a lot of crypto projects that will not survive this period. Even if they've survived this far, this is really, I think, we're getting to the sort of pointy end of I would say the bear market. Other people have said we're in a bull market already, but this point where a lot of these projects won't survive. So it is also a time to have a look at your portfolio. If you're still holding on to some tokens, that are, you know, from the last cycle, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to hold on to them. Hopefully they'll pump again. Like, be really, you know, strict in that sense and go, are these, you know, are these really what I want to be invested in? I can get rid, just dump whatever is you don't think is going to, you know, is going to do well, and put that money into something that you really believe in. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that you mentioned someone in jail, because there are quite a few people going to jail at the moment,
Oh boy.
in the crypto world. We could have a few more, and you know, we can have a few more go to jail as well, rightly so. But again, it's
Yep.
that, I'm sorry, but it's like clearing out the waste. It's, you know,
I
it's
love
like
that.
we're not taking this energy into this next cycle. So we obviously have SBF in jail after violating his bail conditions. By, I think the judge classified it as witness tampering, because he was reaching out to his old colleagues who all have taken a plea deal and have agreed to testify against him. And so that is considered witness tampering. And what a crazy guy. He was living it up, house arrest in his parents' beautiful home. And now he is in one of the worst jails in America.
So silly. So
crazy.
silly. Like, talk about like biting the hand that feeds you, and just, oh boy.
Well, honestly,
Literally
it feels like a very arrogant energy from him, though. He really does believe that he's above the law and he can just do whatever he wants. And look, he has had that proven to him a couple of times, but I think that
right.
reign is coming to an end. And there was also an ex OpenSea executive, and he has been sentenced to jail for just 3 months for insider NFT trading. So it's
Wow.
these things are sort of setting precedents on what is acceptable and what's not. I do remember this story from a while ago, that that someone from OpenSea was, you know, insider trading before. I think he was buying them before they launched on the homepage, like, kind of thing, and then selling them himself. So I'm not
Right.
sure exactly the details of that. But again, that for me just ties in with that energy of waste, death, rebirth, and resources. And we're sort of beginning to set some precedents. Hopefully, also Alex Mashinsky will be, you know, will face his criminal charges, and we'll see that as well in the next coming month.
Yeah, and we also have Tornado Cash, the
Yes.
two developers and founders of that, who have been imprisoned, as well as, or I think they've been arrested. I'm not sure if it's actually already like decided, but I know they've been arrested. They've been charged with money laundering, and that's all coming out too, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Just how all of it is coming out already around this period of time.
Yeah. And I think as we move into Virgo season, through this full moon period and into Virgo season, you know, we also have Mercury in Virgo in the third house, which is tied to communication. So, you know, it's communication. Mercury is all about communication, perception, intellect, and analytical thinking. And then you have this, you know, contrast of practicality, Virgo practicality, attention to detail, and like a very methodical approach. So it kind of like enhances our ability to analyze information, organize thoughts, and make informed decisions through research. So I think we're going to see a lot of, you know, clearer communication in in terms of financial markets. So it's going to be more sort of data driven, analytical approach to the financial markets, rather than hype. And it's, you know, again, going to be a focus on actual economic data, company reports, market trends. So a much more sort of, I would say, clinical version of communication, rather than the excitement and hype that we usually get, and probably more of a focus in terms of Bitcoin on fundamental analysis, and really sorting. I feel like we're really coming into a period where we're going to start to see the fundamentals of Bitcoin actually be more important than price. Where
I
it's going to
can't
be like,
wait.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Finally, come on, people.
Oh, it's so funny. And and so that more of that, like, okay, so how does this technology fit into the world? I think that that's like what we're going to be coming into, is really looking at how do we use this technology. We've talked about it on past podcasts, but I think one of the most interesting things about Bitcoin is that this technology gives us the ability to remove that burden of trust from human beings, and it's enshrined in code. And I think that's really important, and I think that's going to come to the forefront soon. And I can't wait, because it's so funny, because we have this podcast called the Bitcoin Zodiac. People always will say things to me about Bitcoin. They'll either want to have a conversation, or they'll just be very kind of like, I don't know, a little condescending, I guess. But the things that I've never had this experience before, where people who can so confidently speak about something they really don't know anything about. It's just, I mean, I find it kind of amusing, but it does get exhausting to be like Bitcoin's number one public defender all the time. But the things that people talk about Bitcoin and criticize about Bitcoin are so ridiculous, but they've just come from like a news headline. And it's just, I always find it astounding, because I'm like, wow, you really are speaking so confidently on something that you really don't know anything about. And I think that that's interesting. And I think that also these fundamentals, the truth of what Bitcoin really is and what it came here to do, is I think is going to become more and more important and come into be communicated on more of a public stage. I think I can't wait.
Do you
ready for it?
Do you? Yeah, I can't wait for that either. And in the long-term astrology, there's beautiful things like coming for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, it's all written in the stars. But what you were just saying about, you just made me think, like, people that just, like you said, speak so confidently on Bitcoin. And you're like, can you tell me what a Satoshi is? And they can't even tell you that, but they know everything else about Bitcoin, right? I feel like that's so associated, though. It's not just about crypto. It's for any topic. And, we see all of these experts, and I'm doing the bunny rabbit ears with my fingers as I say the word experts, because they watched a few TikTok videos on a topic, and now they know everything. And I feel like that's such a Saturn in retrograde in Pisces, or maybe even Neptune retrograde Pisces. It's like very Pisces energy of like illusions.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, on the opposite, we have Virgo energy that's like, yo, where are the logical facts? Like, we need more detail and more data. You can't just think that you're an expert all of a sudden. But we have a lot of that, and we have a lot of illusions. And it's actually so funny. I have this one friend, he always sends me like these reels on Instagram of like fake spiritual girls. And they're so funny with like, they're crystals, and they're like meditation, and they're like, wait for it, I'm channeling right now. And it's so funny the way that they do it.
Yeah, they're like the sarcastic ones, like the mock ones.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, I know like we're both into a lot of this, like spiritual things, but it's like, kind of where to draw the line on like what you even share on social media. And, and why I'm bringing this up is just because I feel like it's this Pisces energies of like just illusions. And we keep talking even about the fact that we believe one of the biggest illusions in 2023 is that everybody continues to compare Bitcoin to the US dollar. When in reality, and thank God, we're stepping into this now. Okay, let's look at the fundamentals. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, period. Like, it's not about comparing it to the US dollar. Sure, if you are transitioning from US dollar into Bitcoin, you care about that. You're day trading the pair Bitcoin USD, you care about what the price in USD is. But that's the illusion, that we're still stuck on the dollar. And
Mm.
this is a very transitionary time. And I was actually reading on this full moon in Pisces that from an astrological level, it's ending a lot of cycles.
Mm.
And I really feel that on so many different aspects of my life, actually. I feel like there's been just a lot of cycles starting to come to a close. A lot of that is in relationship to Venus in retrograde as well, which we've spoken about with you guys. It's a lot of shakeups in relationships, and that doesn't always have to be romantic. It's, with friends, with business partners, with colleagues, with sometimes even family members. So this Pisces energy is like, or this Pisces full moon is also closing up a lot of that. And I think, as per every full moon, there is a big aspect of just like releasing and letting go, and closing up cycles in life.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And yeah, it is interesting, that sort of illusionary sort of thing. And I think that's on purpose. Like, we live in an age where it's just information overload. We
Oh
can't
my
possibly
God.
be an expert on every single thing we have access to. But I think that there is this sort of level of arrogance in ignorance, actually, that, like, well, I have a grasp on a topic because I watched a 30-second Instagram reel. Like, it's impossible to have any depth of knowledge, in that period of time. But I think that we, you know, as a society, we're fed headlines, we're fed reels, we're fed TikToks, we get information
Mhm.
in such short bites, and we think that we really have a depth of knowledge, of understanding on topics, when we really don't. And yeah, it's about being able to recognize that in yourself as well. Like, I try and recognize that in myself. I don't need to be an expert on every single thing. I kind of just go towards the things that are of interest to me, and that, like, really light me up and draw me in that direction. But there's
That
certain
part.
things that I don't need to think about. I don't, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that are hot topics in this world that I actually have no interest in,
Yep.
so yeah, I just prefer to focus on the things that I am interested in, that do light me up, and I want a real depth of understanding and knowledge on those things. And this Mercury and Virgo is a great time for that, to sort of really
Yep.
lean into that learning, continuous learning, skill improvement, and really getting into the details of the things that you love and that you're really passionate about. And for me,
Mhm.
obviously, that's Bitcoin. It's I really love, like, neuroscience, and that sort of element as well, of spirituality combined with science,
Yes.
mysticism. As we were talking before, I love, like, herbalism and essential oils and alternative health and things like that. So those are the things that I go really hard on. I go really deep on. But there are so many other things that other people are interested in, or are in the news, or hot topics, or hot topics online, that I just don't have any interest in. So I'd rather channel my focus and energy into, like, my things that really light me up, rather than spreading my energy too thin and just not really having a depth of understanding on anything, really.
Yeah, I love that too. We don't need to be an expert in everything. And, I feel like it's like that saying, a jack of all trades, but a master at none.
Mm.
And that has really stuck with me a lot of my life. It's something that my dad has always said to me. And, he would be like, oh, I wish that I was like more of like a master at one, which I look at him, and just in case he's listening, Dad, you're a master at a lot of things. I love you. But but um and it is, I think it's so beautiful when you can find those things that you're so passionate about and really dive into them. um And I'm just going to throw this out there. You know, I study a lot of social media. I've been working with social media a long time. And I do believe that one of the main tendencies that's going to be in the future is really the niches. Like they just, social media favors niche. Like the more that you can get, like, okay, you're in fashion, like really going down to like, I'm going to talk specifically about heels, not even shoes, but like heels. And like really niching down, I think, is a big part of what we have just in general in the future. um so that's a little side note and just a little Corinne's intake on that. But coming back to Mercury, I also thought it was really interesting that Mercury is, while it's in retrograde, it's actually going to be also in opposition to the natal Uranus of Bitcoin. And I really like to look at Uranus, as we've spoken about plenty of times already here, because with financial astrology, Uranus just like shakes a lot of things up. And opposition is a challenging sign, or a challenging aspect, sorry, but with Mercury retrograde being in opposition to the natal Uranus, I think that if anything, it's an energy of like slowing down and carefully thinking through things. And thinking, not feeling, but thinking through things. And so I think that's interesting, because I think it adds to like our really like, yep, this is going to be a consolidating time of Bitcoin. But also on the topic of Uranus, on the 29th of August, which is probably when you guys were listening to this or happened yesterday, we had Uranus go into retrograde in Taurus. And we've spoken about that in the past, how Uranus just already in general in Taurus is all about the earth, natural disasters, food shortages, resource shortages. And then that plays in the economy in what way? Resources and energy, limitations.
Commodities also is a big focus for Taurus, I feel.
Yeah, everything that comes from the earth.
Yeah.
And, it's just so crazy to see already how we had, and I said this last episode, I send so much love and healing to, people that are in Maui and Hawaii, or we see even the volcano in Tenerife, which is an island off Spain, that just starting to, I don't know if it's already erupting, but it's like creating like a lot of issues to like their air. We had the hurricane go through California, which luckily, from what I understand and have seen, it wasn't as bad as they, have expected it to be. We're just seeing a lot of these things happening. A lot of talk around, what's the word I'm looking for without saying the C word, or the V word, potential other things arising,
Potential
and coming
viruses,
back.
maybe making
I
a
didn't want to
comeback.
say either of those words, but yeah, maybe some comebacks. Oh, but again, that is that's health related. And I just feel like there's a lot of things that are starting to get shaken up. And so during this Uranus retrograde and Taurus period, which then, will be paired with the eclipses in October, is just another transitioning time. Again, that's what it is. We're just transitioning. Our world's just changing. And we said it in one of our first episodes that by the end of this year, we're just going to see a completely different world than what it is that we had at the start of the year, because it's just transformations. That's why all these planets are in retrograde.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also I kind of like to zoom out a little bit as well. And like I look at when I look at Bitcoin, I often like to look at Bitcoin as a person and like the personality. But when you zoom out as well, like Bitcoin is really coming into teenage years. You know, it's been a kid, it's coming through its teenage years. There's growing pains, there's, you know, establishing its own identity, you know, finding purpose, those kind of things. So those are all sort of themes through these current years, and are expected in the life cycle of Bitcoin as well. So, you know, when you set it in the backdrop of all of these macro things that you're talking about as well, you know, Bitcoin as a teenager, and it's just finding its way in the world and really establishing who it is. And, you know, so we're going to see those kind of transitions. It is a time of growth. It is a time of transition. And sometimes it feels, you know, awkward and clunky. And like when we were teenagers, we felt awkward at times and, you know, unsure of ourselves. And so it's just like, but we also know like this too shall pass. Like these times don't last forever. And so we grow through these stages.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's just a little teenager. It's just figuring out life and and figuring out the identity and the place in the world. And that's what this energy is all about, just finding its place.
And for
Now,
for other people also to understand it, like, right? It's like, okay, you're a teenager, I don't quite understand you, but I'm starting to see who you are, what's coming through. So I think we're in that zone with Bitcoin. We also have Mars in Libra in the third house, also communication. So, you know, that's kind of an interesting balance of energies because we have that, like, you know, Mars is very much like energy, action, assertiveness, while Libra is like balance, harmony, and relationships. So there's almost this like desire to take action in a diplomatic, balanced manner. So again, tying in with that theme of cooperation and connectedness, seeking cooperation and fairness. So, you know, while Mars can bring that impulsiveness, Libra can encourage more sort of measured decisions. So as we see certain things like, you know, the BRICS summit and things like that, I'm hoping that we see some diplomacy through the world. You know, I'm hoping that that energy does come through, and we do see action that needs to be taken to align with fairness and cooperation. But I really hope that it can be achieved in a diplomatic way.
diplomacy is the key word around all of this. I just had a little light bulb moment and remembered we got to talk about Binance.
Yeah. It's a BNB token is an all like a year. It's a year low. It's at the lowest it's been this year.
And it's so interesting. And I actually found a tweet. I am gonna shout out Sunny Decree is the name, but this is like the perfect tweet that summarizes it for me. To simplify the Binance issue, Binance introduced its own token, BNB. Its utility is mainly within the Binance platform. The total market cap of BNB is roughly equivalent to 1.2 million Bitcoin. But Binance doesn't hold 1.2 million Bitcoin. If BNB's value drops, Binance might liquidate Bitcoin to support BNB's price. This strategy is sustainable until it's not. If it fails, we could see a situation similar of FTX, but magnified. And
So what are they saying, that they don't hold enough Bitcoin to be doing that? So they're using like customers' Bitcoin? Is that what that's saying?
You could say that because they would need to sell. They would need to be able to upkeep the price of Bitcoin, of BNB. And if they don't have enough Bitcoin in their reserves, then they'd be selling all of it. They can't then go to give the money back to their investors. And that's FTX all over again because they would need to declare bankruptcy. and fail, or just not be able to their clients start asking for withdrawals and they just can't afford it. And what's just so interesting about this though is like, I feel like this was all of the big master plan. That's what they wanted to happen to Binance, because
They
as we've
wanted to
spoken
force
about,
them into that position.
exactly, they wanted to force them into financial issues, because think about it, why don't they have all that Bitcoin anymore? Why has BNB dropped so much? Well, because the Binance keeps getting kicked out of all these countries. Sure, they're going and making partnerships with other countries and they're accepting it, but let's be real, where is majority of the retailers' money coming from? From countries such as
US,
UK, et cetera, et cetera. So Canada, right? So they have just literally pushed Binance into a corner. And if Binance now can't, fulfill the withdrawals or keep up their token, it's like, because BNB, the token is such a key part of Binance, like you pay a lot of your fees in BNB. It's just, I just thought this was so wild, the timing of it. I expected this stuff to happen in October. I really thought the eclipses, and honestly, I'll have to go through the astrology and check out the astrology for Binance, but yeah, I just really expected this more so around October and eclipse season, but it might already be happening now, or this could just be the warning.
It's such an interesting thing. I never know which way to feel about Binance. I mean, I don't actually use Binance myself personally, but and there is an element of it. Like I remember, like again, I never used FTX either, because there was something about FTX that I didn't look. I'm not saying that I did this big due diligence research on it and I thought that it was dodgy. I just never had a good feeling about it. Whereas Binance, there's something about Binance and all of the FUD around Binance that doesn't quite feel the same. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they're perfect or that they're good, or I have no idea. I'll put my hands up and say that. But there does feel somewhat of this energy around it that, like, we need to create this big bag boogeyman, right? And Binance is it, right? It's almost this, we've got to create a common enemy. And it's like because Binance will not toe the line with a lot of these countries, it's like they've made Binance the enemy. And that's like a lot of the press that comes out. Now, look, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be holding any crypto on Binance right now for sure. Like this may unravel, but there is also this energy around it that I don't know, I sort of feel intuitively that a lot of this stuff, a lot of the FUD around Binance is in an effort to discredit Binance, right? Is they didn't play our game, so we're going to take them down. Which feels a little different to me to FTX. However, what you're saying right now does sound to be like quite a calculated attack of cutting off all areas to Binance. Like that's been the aim of the game for a while. Like their Binance stablecoin, they cut off Paxos so that would cut off one area of entry into Binance. Like they're trying to sort of plug all of those holes and back Binance into a corner. Now we shall see if, this will all come out in the open if Binance has been commingling funds in the same way that FTX was, and they are using user funds. So that will remain to be seen, but I think it is interesting. The energy around both of these sort of stories feels different to me. And I don't know why. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying this is true, because this is literally just me spitballing. I'm not saying this based off astrology or anything like that. I think I will have a little deeper look at Binance's chart. But there does sort of seem to be this idea that we're going to make Binance the enemy and discredit Binance in that way. So let's see how this plays out. I think it's interesting though to see, because this may be a calculated attack that forces them into a hole, really.
Yeah, I'm actually just I couldn't help myself. I actually just pulled it up I'm sorry, I'm just like, nope, need it now. Classically your energy. I'm like, give me answers.
Where
Maybe
is
that's
where is Binance's Chiron?
So their Chiron is in Pisces.
Okay,
on the 28th degree of Pisces. And so I actually see here, so the full moon is happening in the 5th house. And so the 5th house is educational matters like learning. And we have the sun going through the 11th house, which is central banks, board of directors, people of authority. So that's some light being shown upon that.
Yeah.
Its natal Uranus has been constantly hit or squared Pluto, with Pluto actually going in retrograde. It's come back to kind of shake up some things there, and that's happening in the 7th house. So everything to do with exchanges, valuation, potential scandals. And Uranus is on top of, so in conjunct to Venus. And Venus, when we talk about financial astrology, that's got a lot to do with money. So potential money problems being shaken up by Uranus right there for Binance. That's kind of like the first things that catch my eye, just as I'm kind of like analyzing it here live. Yeah. And actually, seeing as you said Chiron, the Uranus is actually moving through and trine the natal Chiron. So it's kind of playing around with it there.
Yeah. Interesting. So like for Chiron, which is like the wounded healer of astrology, it represents the areas where we experience deep emotional wounds, and also it's almost like wounding that you will kind of carry through your lifetime, right? And it's not that like, oh, I'm going to be wounded in this area and I can never recover, I can never heal from it. It's not that, but it's like that recovering from that wounding is really part of your growth. So for that being in Pisces, that is really associated with empathy, spirituality, the collective unconscious. So again, it kind of is that, the collective unconscious is really sort of speaking to me in that way of like, that's continually being wounded, like this underlying idea of what finance is going to be continually challenged in people's consciousness, and so that's their job to heal that also. So you can go one of two ways with Chiron. You can just keep that wounding and you can, basically walk around with it and never, so in this context, it's like you can do things that are going to lead people to think badly of you, and they're in the collective consciousness. Whereas, or you can heal that and, step out of that and begin to heal and repair that. So I think sometimes Binance goes two ways. Like, I don't feel like they handle it from a PR side of things very well. They kind of come at it with a middle finger more than anything, which, you know what I mean? Which doesn't instill confidence in investors, right?
You know
what
I'm laughing?
They're like...
because their Mercury's in Cancer.
Yeah.
So they're like, I hate you. Here's my fingers, my rude
Yeah,
fingers up at you, and I'm gonna go
exactly.
my way.
You know what I mean? It's there's never really a they never kind of come out and explain things with clarity like, hey, these are our dealings with the SEC. This is why this happens. This is what we said no to. Whereas it's such a contrast between the way that Coinbase handles things from a PR perspective, right?
Right.
Whereas Binance is like, I'm just going to run around the world and do whatever I want, and I'm just going to give you the middle finger. And now, I mean, look, we're all in crypto. We love that vibe. However,
Mhm.
there is an element of like there needs to be some cooperation and also some clarity, like around it leaves space for these kind of rumors to come through and this kind of FUD to be thrown at them because people, if there is no clarity, then people just assume things. And also with this PTSD that people have from FTX, there needs to be a lot more transparency and clarity for people to be able to trust these institutions.
Yep. 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 Ah, just times to play it safe, guys, for
Yeah,
us. I
yeah,
think that this is another friendly reminder of just really know where you are keeping your crypto
yeah.
and whether you have ownership to it. You guys can go back. I think it was last episode. I did my little teacher slash mom rant on the importance of you guys actually owning your crypto. I say it with so much love. So I think this is like really the bottom line for us because no matter then what happens with the Binance, with anything else, I mean, even Coinbase, um, it's just this is what crypto is about. This is what Bitcoin has really brought to disrupt and change in the world the ownership, where we don't need middlemen anymore. There doesn't need to be an intermediary. And when we can be in ownership of our currency, of our money, which essentially is bringing back power to us and our energy in our own hands, um, yeah, we don't need to rely on anybody else. Like Claire said earlier, it's about removing trust from people because, I mean, we've all heard of human error, whether it's intentional or not, there is human error. And that's what's so beautiful about being able to essentially rely or put our trust in a predetermined code that has been agreed upon, that can't be modified or manipulated, that's transparent for everybody to see. And I think people are going to start to see and understand that more and more.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and any
Yeah.
of these things, I mean, these centralized exchanges, I've noticed as well, they all want now full KYC. Um,
Mm, yep.
so they all want full KYC. I think I saw Qcoin and Bybit also. Sorry, Bybit did that a long time ago. They required you to be able to KYC fully if you want to make any withdrawals from their
Mm,
exchange. And BitGet, I think, was a recent one as well. So they are all doing that to be in
oh,
compliance. And so,
yep.
look, these centralized exchanges are useful for a purpose. I think it was the Kraken CEO that came out and said, don't hold your crypto with us. We're not a bank. We're an exchange.
Mm,
Like it says it in the name. That's what they're useful for. That's what their job is you can go on there, you can exchange either fiat or other crypto for another cryptocurrency. That's what they do, and that's what they're good at. You I don't trust any centralized exchange to hold crypto on.
mm,
That's not what crypto is about. We're not here to just create another version of the current system. We're here to do something new, and it's an honor and a gift to be able to take personal responsibility of your finances. We've never been
yes.
able to do that before. We've never been able to do that before.
Mhm.
And so, this is something new and exciting, and it's a really good thing to do, and to have that personal ownership. And yeah, it's an honor to be able to do that now, when we previously couldn't. So yeah, again, just stay stay safe in these times. And also one last thing in regards to the astrology of this time as well, when I was talking about Mars in Libra, this kind of time can, when you have like sort of contradictory energies together, it can sort of lead to a space of indecisiveness. So, Libra does seek balance, but it can also lead to indecision. So strive for that balance between, thoughtful consideration, but also taking action. So if you're sort of looking at, the moves of Bitcoin and it's coming down, and you've sort of had this idea of like, when it comes down, I'm going to add to my position. But then when it comes down to it, you're in this indecisive space of like, oh, I don't know if it'll go down again or if it'll go up. Like it's also about taking action in those moments. And the thing that I think I find most frustrating about conversations around crypto is that, nobody's interested in Bitcoin when it's at 20K, but when it's at 50, 60, everybody wants some. And, it's really like these times where, Bitcoin is on sale, is the time to be really strategic about your investments for the future. Like that's what we're about. So not being impulsive, keeping your emotions in check, but also not being afraid to take action when it's time to take action.
Yeah. Friendly reminder that Bitcoin's all-time high was almost $70,000. That means that if Bitcoin was at $35,000, if my math is right, that's 50% off. So if Bitcoin right now is sub 30K, that's a pretty great discount.
Yeah.
Food for thought. No financial advice because nothing's guaranteed. We don't know 100% if Bitcoin's going to go all the way up. Astrology is not even used for this, guys. I want to even there remind, astrology is not I don't believe the future is set in stone. What astrology allows us to do is just hey, here are the energies, here are the potentials. This is what may happen. And so nothing is set in stone. So is Bitcoin going to go back to all-time highs and above? Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's going to go to all-time highs and above? That's what actually really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So on that note, I think we can close. Happy full moon in Pisces, everybody.
Yes, happy full moon in Pisces, everyone. Release, let go, and peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Peace, love, and Bitcoin. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bitcoin Zodiac podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussions about the evolution of Bitcoin viewed through the lens of financial astrology. This podcast does not offer financial advice, so please make sure you do your own research. And stay tuned for our next episode where we will continue to dive deeper and build off these perception-expanding topics. Remember, whatever your beliefs may be, we all have something to learn from each other, so stay curious, stay open-minded, and keep exploring the world of Bitcoin and astrology. As always, may the stars align in your favor and your crypto investments prosper. Until next time, peace, love, and Bitcoin.